And then we relied on those partners like MNS to provide us with kind of their findings and recommendations. Right now, SaskPower has, for the small modular reactor project, for this nuclear power project, we have self-triggered on the duty with respect to the site or where this will go. And so communities have been informed and notified, and then we're looking through leadership, elders, and community members on the process that they'd like us to use with them. So there's a lot of things to be done. We anticipate, once the federal process or provincial processes kick in, as well as at varying stages throughout, that this is something that we'll make sure that we're collaborating on and not go out it alone or make those assumptions. So it's early, and I think your point is well taken.
Okay, thanks, Lara. Next question, and maybe we can speak to this and potentially a bit more broadly, but the one question is, why is U.S. design technology going to be used instead of Canadian? I'm assuming, John, this is in reference to some of the GE Hitachi SMRs, but maybe Nanette, John, if you maybe want to clarify, is that specifically related to the SMR technology that's being considered? But maybe Nanette, you can just talk to, maybe some of this process that's happening with SMRs, some of the timing of it, and maybe how SaskPower is collaborating with some other jurisdictions in terms of how it's gonna handle this or manage the consideration around it, and what some of the timelines might be.
Sure. There are also other sessions here that are going on specifically for nuclear, so you might get more detailed answers in those sessions, but they have been working with a sort of Canadian-wide approach. There was a memorandum of understanding with a number of provinces, including Ontario and New Brunswick. We've been working quite closely with Ontario, following a process with a party who's already a nuclear jurisdiction to gain those lessons learned from their experience. So looking at the technology, they had done a rigorous review of technologies, and there were some Canadian technologies in the mix. They're not as developed as the one that was selected. And so coming from the outside, I'm not an expert in that group, so this might be a good question to pose again. But my understanding is that it was just that robust history with that technology. It hasn't been done as a small modular reactor before, but it does have a robust history as a larger generator, the similar technology that it's based off of.
And can you comment a little bit on some of the timeline for some of the other jurisdictions that are looking at it? Because SaskPower is not alone in terms of using or considering that that GE technology.
For sure. Yes, Ontario has also chosen the GE BWRX reactor. And so we're looking to not be first of a kind. Ontario, as I mentioned, is a nuclear jurisdiction, and they are looking to build the first SMR in Canada. And so we'll be able to follow behind them, looking to make our decision in 2029. No decision has been made yet. There's a lot of work to get to that decision point. And then we could potentially follow behind Ontario. There are other jurisdictions also looking at reactors that might look at some other technologies for other purposes.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the timing of that, can you maybe comment on why SMRs, haven't really been looked at before? I know this first one is a 300 megawatt unit. Why, what's different about the timing now in terms of, why now?
The big difference is the size, and that's why we're so interested in the new technology with the small modular reactor. Small meaning that it's around 300 megawatts or less, and 300 megawatts is a really great size for our grid. We have looked in the past, but we haven't been able to incorporate a larger traditional nuclear facility, because there's 600 megawatts to 1,000 megawatts, and that's almost twice as big, or in some cases, almost 3 times as big as the largest unit we currently support on our grid. Our grid has to be able to handle the loss of that unit. So if something goes wrong, a pump malfunctions and the whole unit shuts down, our grid has to be able to quickly react, and we can't do that for those larger units. 300 megawatts is just the right size.
Okay, so it's a scale thing. There's a question here from John just about, there's basically have this sort of 5-year window left to keep sort of the overall kind of temperature to no more than 1.5 Celsius. And he's asking, basically, what are the kind of things that we can do early? I mean, what's your sense of what are the immediate opportunities? Some of these ones seem like they're larger, they're longer term. What are the shorter term opportunities you think, that we can be doing now to sort of get us going in the right direction?
I mean, on a personal level, the number one thing anyone can do is reduce their energy use, become more energy efficient. Those are things that SaskPower is looking to support in the demand side management program. We have been working for, I know it's a top of mind for many people, like how fast can we get there and how can we move faster? We have been working as technologies develop to, build up that wind, build up that solar. Technology is now well developed. So that's something that we have been adding, and we are adding in addition in large scale. We are on top of the battery energy storage, starting to add right now. And as that technology develops, again, we'll be ramping that up as quickly as we can. We're just trying to look ahead to all those technologies as they develop and find the ones that really work well in Saskatchewan, and then take advantage of those options as they are available to us.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions that we can answer? There we go. One just popped up here. Just the question is, can you talk about hydropower in Saskatchewan and the government of Saskatchewan sort of looking at investing in hydro in Alberta? So if we don't have some of the resources here, if the way I read this, can we be investing in other places to access some of those resources without actually having them in Saskatchewan, or be collaborating with utilities or other governments?
Yeah, we could definitely be doing that. We have looked at that sort of in some way. We're looking definitely at imported power. In some instances, that might also include specifically contracting with a generator to produce that kind of power. Hydro specifically, I don't have any specific history on if we have had that conversation yet or not, but theoretically, that could be possible.
Okay.
Derek, I noticed another question in the chat here from Carol, and it was, so Nanette, how can industrial or other large users support Saskatchewan decarbonization, is what Carol was asking.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Sure, I spoke too quickly. How can industrial or other large users support Saskatchewan decarbonization?
For sure. Well, one way that comes to mind is with our demand response program. We're looking for large industrial customers who might be willing to either shift some of their peak demand to off-peak times, or help us with our reliability by joining a program where we might pay you to be available if needed to shift some of that demand just on a minimal, if needed basis for those peak times of the year. You could also look at things as your own energy efficiency, and speak to your key account managers. I'm sure there's other opportunities there as well.
Okay, thanks. There's a couple of other questions that we want to pose here too, and this goes more to some kind of various aspects of particular power generation options. So for this part here, just look for this part of the on your screen there, that if you select that Slido tab there, that will open up some polls that have some ranking questions in them. I'm just going to flip the first of these on now. So here's the three sort of dimensions to this, just quickly for the purposes of today. So think about the characteristics of your sort of quote unquote ideal power generation technology as it relates to the environment, and just rank these in terms of how important they are to you. So make number one the most important, and so on. So among those three, just having regulations in place to manage how the technology is retired at the end of its lifespan. Second one, low to no greenhouse gas emissions. And the third option there, little to no impact in terms of wildlife and water resources. So yeah, give that some thought and just do some kind of picking of those which in order of importance to you. It looks like so far among those, the impact to wildlife and water is coming out as sort of the top one. Greenhouse gas emissions in second spot there, and then just the relevance of that regulation piece as the third one. I'll go to the next one here. The next ones relate to the economy. So yeah, same type of question, but from the perspective of the economy. So of these three, create economic benefits for the local community, long-term price stability, and the third one, attracting investment from outside the province. So yeah, just give that a bit of thought, and I'll just read out some of those responses. I think you can see them there as well. Just see what comes out out in the top of the pile among those three. So far, it looks like long-term price stability is the most important or relevant one, followed by economic benefits for the local community. And then third, that outside investment piece is coming in third. But definitely the price stability coming out on top amongst those three. Okay, thanks for that. And then I have one more of these that I'll put up, and you should see that there momentarily. And that's specific to land use. So among these three ones here, and I'll just read them out. Minimizing impacts to how the landscape looks or appears. Its ability to coexist with other land uses. And the third, it does not reduce agricultural land use. So give that a moment of thought and rank those in order of importance for you. So far it looks like the ability to coexist with other land uses is the top one. Not reducing the agricultural use of a land is number 2. And third one, it's more sort of aesthetic or appearance in nature, but minimizing impacts to how the landscape looks. Okay, thanks for your participation on those. It's always interesting to see how those go. We've got 2 minutes left before we have to get you onto your next session. Again, the team here has been sort of very much, kind of working on facilitating a conversation about this that began a couple of months ago. A lot of that's happening online in terms of the SaskPower website, probably the easiest way to connect if you're online. There's been a number of kind of lunch and learn style recordings that are up there on how our power flows, how small scale technology is working. That would be around that distributed energy side. A couple of topics on nuclear recordings are available. That fourth one might still be coming yet, but you can go and check those out. Those have happened over the course of the last several weeks. And definitely encouraging you to go check out saskpower.com/engage. This is the online engagement hub. Any questions that we didn't get to today or you think of afterwards or that kind of thing, you can go onto the website and ask a question, and Nanette or someone on her team will get a response back to you there that way. If you have ideas or suggestions, please go and put them up there. There's some social features there where you can upvote those, and again, just see what other people are contributing. And we've also just refreshed the survey to kind of what we're kind of characterizing as our stage 2 survey, corresponding to the stages that I mentioned earlier. So please take a few minutes to fill that out, and subscribe to the email newsletter so you can follow along there as well. We always keep saying subscribe. That way we can keep coming back to you with other opportunities to participate and also just follow along with what's going on. So again, thanks so much for spending your time with us amongst all the other options here. We really do appreciate it. And on behalf of myself and SaskPower, thanks again. Thanks for attending the session today. And again, hope to see you online at saskpower.com/engage. And thanks again.